Hello, doctor.
Hello.
Would you like a,
Sorry, hold on, wrong button.
common doctor mistake?
You don't need to give me
Would you like a, bag of, poo-poo?
sure, I'll take it. Yeah.
Doctors usually seem interested in poop.
Hold on. I want, for your kindness, I want to give you a golden opportunity.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, go crazy.
Well, thank you kindly.
No problem.
See if it's loaded. Quite interesting. Would you like to answer a few questions about American politics?
I really just need to find some food right now.
I don't have any. I have like a can of dumpster rats. And you really shouldn't have done that. Oh shit.
Free bandages.
Would you like to answer a few questions about American politics?
Sure.
Sure, you want to come downstairs where it's not so loud?
Okay, what are your questions?
Okay, where are you from, and what are your screen name, or what's your name? 1222.
Yeah, sure. I'm just gonna go by 1220.
Yeah, 1220. Are you American?
Yes, sadly.
Oh, unfortunate. Would you consider yourself politically engaged?
Yes.
And how long have you been playing Aneurism?
A few months now.
Okay, not bad. Me too. Same. And so you consider yourself politically engaged, or would you place yourself on the political spectrum?
Leftist.
Leftist? Okay, interesting. And why do you say that?
Because I've got radically, socialist, borderline communist views for most things.
Okay, interesting. And what do you feel your country's biggest problem is, and why?
The biggest problem is the class divide and the rampant consumerism within the country's economic system.
It's quite a statement for this game.
I mean, kind of.
we're literally role-playing that little class divide right here.
Yeah.
Okay, and so with politicians, what are you most concerned about? What do you look for in them?
What do I look for in a politician?
Yes, like if you're voting for a candidate that you're pogged for, why are you pogged for them?
Sorry, I had to mute the radio. But the thing I'm most looking for in a politician, basically them being not just not racist, but anti-racist, anti-bigoted, that kind of ideal, preferably with socialist policies, Zoran Mamdani is really good.
Okay.
But Bernie's okay, but he's kind of like socialism light, whereas Mamdani and AOC are more we're actually progressive socialists.
Why do you think Donald Trump won the 2024 election over Kamala Harris?
Because there's a good number of people, because, alright, polls are biased, right?
Right.
Okay, so there's a good number of people that, legitimately, their main issues, they're not very politically active, and their main issues were actually food and housing prices. They don't care about the tax breaks, they don't care about any of that shit. They wanted to be able to more easily afford food and be able to actually purchase a home or rent with more scrutiny. And the issue is that's not what Trump runs on, that's what he says he runs on. And so people took what he was saying at face value. They didn't care about the anti-immigrant views he had. They didn't care about the anti-trans views he had. They didn't care about the anti-queer views that he has. And so that's why they voted for him. Now, are there a good number of his voters that voted for him because of how blatantly racist and queerphobic he is? Yes. But the majority of centrists that voted for him were actually because they thought he was going to keep his word on his policies, and they're not very politically informed.
All right. So what do you think? Oh, who do you think will win the 2028 election and why?
I don't know. That's too far in the future to really like give an estimation about.
It's 3
I have a
years.
feeling that with a certain, I mean, yeah, but I feel like with a certain, like the current political climate going on right now, I feel like people are going to vote against anybody that claims to like be on the MAGA side of shit, because like I don't know if they're not going to vote for Republicans, but a lot of Republicans have become very MAGA pilled, as it would be said. And so with how current things are going with the Medicare cuts, with the Medicaid cuts, the Consumer Protection Bureau, like all that shit, like I feel like there's going to be a
I think someone got found.
I feel like there's going to be a good amount of backlash to that regard. So
For the Republicans, you mean?
It's hard to say, but I have a feeling like with how everything's going right now, the Republicans definitely have they shot themselves in the foot really hard, because they're not going to be able to get a significant amount of their policies pushed through before the next election comes through, and they've already pissed off a majority of the populace.
Very interesting. Okay, last question. Oh no, second to last question. What do you think America's policy towards Israel should be?
I think America's policy towards Israel, there are a lot of people that are extremely anti-Israel, including myself, but I think the big thing when it comes to what policy regarding Israel should be is not the full disbandment. Well, I think I don't think Israel has a right to exist, because I'll just say what I think the policy should be, which is I think current administration within Israel needs to be put in their place, basically. Like, I think that they should be arrested. I think that they should face the punishment that they deserve. And I think all American aid to Israel, except for, humanitarian aid, all aid to Israel should be ceased. No weapons, no money, no policies in their favor.
Like military aid?
Yes, yeah. Because, what they're doing is, it's literally war crimes. They're fucking burning babies to death. They're bombing hospitals. They're, Mossad agents and IDF operators are dressing up as doctors to raid hospitals and kill suspected or alleged Hamas supporters. Not even just Hamas militants, but supporters. And so, it's literally not even disguised in a fucking genocide. So yeah, I don't think that we should be supporting a country that actively, is committing a genocide. And that's also my policy, my personal policy that I have towards places like Hungary and Turkey, and why I think those countries should not be within NATO. It's ridiculous, because Turkey committed the Armenian genocide, which was fucking disgusting, and Hungary is literally a fascist dictatorship. The Turks that gained a lot of the power, what's up, dude? The Turks that gained a lot of the power,
I love you both
really
so much.
don't like...
No problem. You want to interview next?
Just leave. No, just leave for your guys' safety.
Oh, okay, all right. You want to go to the laundry underground?
Sure. Why are we leaving? Is there gonna be a scum raid?
I think his friends are coming.
Please.
Let's go to the underground laundry. We can maybe get some audience in here. Okay. So, Armenian genocide and then the Malprac.
Yeah. So, Turkey has done a lot of cleansing different ethnic groups within their borders and everything, and so there's just a big issue with that. The Kurds.
Talking about Turkey?
He is.
Yes.
Who is Turkish here?
Are you Turkish?
No, I'm asking you. Are you Turkish?
I am not Turkish, no.
Are you Turkish?
I am not Turkish. We're both American.
Oh, well, I am Turkish, though.
We're both Americans. Why are you talking about fucking Turkish politics?
Because we're Americans, we think we can talk about everything.
He's doing an interview on politics for me, and
An interview?
hey, look, you got the words from a Turk. You got the words from a Turk himself. Fuck Turkey.
one of the few last questions would be, how should America handle the immigrants entering its country, like from the southern border?
They are, believe it or not, as big of an issue as you would think. They don't, for the most part, like, the immigrants in America, a majority of the immigrants in America are from Mexico and Latin American countries, and that's mostly due to the poor conditions within those areas. People, you know, just trying to get out of those areas and work their way in a country that they view as better, even though America's still pretty dog shit. And the thing is, they pay taxes, they commit crimes at a much lower rate than American citizens do, and so they're not, like, they're just a net positive for the country itself, and all the people that are anti-immigrant and, like, anti-DEI don't fucking know anything about those topics, and so they just talk from a point of ignorance.
Right. And so how should America handle the immigrants as a policy?
I personally think immigration should become easier, because I don't know how much you know about American immigration policy, but it's very difficult to become an American.
Yeah, my best friend's immigrant from the South, and he has a lot of trouble trying to get his papers.
Yeah, so the thing is, you have to live here for a minimum of 5 years before you can apply for a green card. Not only that, you have to go through a test, of which I was forced to take in high school to prove, from my liberal teacher, to prove how hard it is to actually become a fucking a naturalized citizen. Like, only 2 of the people in the entire class passed the test.
That's pretty cool.
It's answering questions about so much random shit that not even Americans know about. Like, one of the questions on the test, I don't know if you know this, is, what are all of the lyrics to the Star Spangled Banner?
Yeah, there's like really wacky, like esoteric cultural ones that they're just expecting you to know offhand.
So yeah, my whole view on immigration in America is we should make it easier to immigrate.
Right, I hear you. For drugs, how should America handle drug addiction, like drug addicts and drug criminalization?
And I think they should go the Spain route. Decriminalization and clinics where you can get these drugs that are much better controlled and are dosed by people that understand pharmacology. Because drug addiction occurs when people have bad mental health, because they want something to shut the voices off, you know, shut their brain up for a small amount of time, no matter what it is. Or it's even worse, like when it comes to opiate, it's induced by Big Pharma, because Big Pharma pushes doctors to prescribe opiates and opioids. So because they prescribe these, and they don't prescribe them in a high, they prescribe them in such a dose that people become tolerant of their current dose, they need to seek out higher doses. The doctor doesn't give it to them, so they're still suffering from their ailment that the opiate was tending to. And so because they have that tolerance now, they have to seek out more. And when they get to the point to where seeking out more doesn't help them, they seek out harder stuff. They seek out stuff like heroin or opium or fentanyl and like stuff like that. Methadone clinics don't fucking work. I know like 4 different dudes. I know 4 different dudes personally that quit through methadone, and they said it was the worst experience of their entire lives, to the point that 2 of them stopped taking the methadone and went and started buying Percocets and used those to quit, and they just weaned themselves down using Percocets. I feel like you should answer first, because I could go on for a long time about that.
I'm sorry, Discord's really loud. What were you saying?
Well, how do you feel about the America's Second Amendment?
What right to bear arms? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's been misconstrued a lot, because, like, okay, I'm not saying take away everyone's guns, right? I think what it should be is legitimately what it says. If shit starts going wrong with America, it is up to the American people to go and raise a militia. Now, here's what I have an issue with. You have people who are at one point saying, oh, they're going to take my guns away, Second Amendment right, Second Amendment right. Well, when people start actually going after the government, then all of a sudden it's like, they're criminals, take their rights away, they're not allowed, blah, blah, blah. Like, wait, did you even read what the Second Amendment says? It says you have the right to own a gun to fight the federal government if they start doing some freaky fascist shit. Like, why the fuck are you not allowed to do that? It's literally the do as I say, not as I do thing. You know? They're able to walk around with guns all they want, but all of a sudden, the moment that an actual, like, militia starts being formed, it's like, oh, no, get the National Guard, and they ain't allowed to do that.
What about you, 1220?
I have a confliction about guns. I know a lot about guns. I've worked with guns most of my life. I used to be a very avid hunter. And my issue with guns is mostly due to the mental health crisis in this country. Because, like, there's so many people, like, there's so many shootings that just occur. And that I don't think those people should have such an easy access to firearms. And I feel like that, like, I don't agree with total gun control, but I think that guns need better regulation because of the fucking, like, do you know how many mass shootings have occurred this year already?
I do not.
Last time I checked, 8 mass shootings have already occurred this year alone.
We're only in July.
Right, but they say the mass shooting is any shooting that's like over 3 people.
Okay, alright, fine.
No, I'm
Question.
good.
Is it okay that more than 4 people are still being shot?
Yeah, the one person getting shot still
Alright,
a
then
shooting.
my point still stands.
The United States is a country of 207 million people. There's going to be horrific things that occur.
Like, yeah, people are gonna die.
Well, yeah,
Yes,
I
there are, but...
There's like 3 guns to every person in the United States. This country's fucked. Well, dude, what is that one Nicolas Cage movie say? The one that is about him being an arms dealer? Isn't the opening... Isn't
The Lord of War?
yeah, but the opening line is something like, you know...
There's enough guns in the world for...
There are over 550 million firearms in worldwide circulation. That's 1 firearm for every 12 people on the planet. The only question is, how do we arm the other 11?
Anyway, so it's the mental health crisis plus the ease of access to arms. Like, I don't think guns should be taken away, but I think you should require, like, licensing to own a firearm.
Like cars.
And to me, like, people are like, oh, that's a gun registry. Okay, fine. All right, you get your fucking car registered. Do you complain about that? No.
They literally force you. They don't let you drive on the fucking roads if you don't have your shit registered. So, ICE has played a major role recently in our country.
Gestapo. Sorry, continue.
And what do you think that their role in our country should be?
Non-existent.
I mean, yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Again, like, I understand border control and shit like that. Like, you know, not every person who's coming into the country is coming with the best intentions. I understand that. It's a nat zero. There's no stopping that. But at the same time, right?
I want to be a
Why does that...
I want...
Oh my god, there's people going behind us. Anyway, why is there, like, the option for them to go into people's homes? And they're not doing border control now. Now they're doing fucking law enforcement's work. Like,
right.
It's overreach. It's complete overreach on their part. You stick to the fucking border, guard the border, do your fucking job. What are you doing in the middle of Nevada? You shouldn't be there. You know, like, what the fuck?
Okay, so 1222 or 1220, you said that they shouldn't exist at all. Why is that? Why do you feel that way?
Because they basically, at least in their current state, function as they function as a Gestapo. And that is not what they should do. Like, their whole thing is supposed to be border customs. They should not be able to have the same abilities and rights as the FBI does, which is fucking crazy. They should not be allowed to do that.
Someone said it best when they mentioned it would be like if TSA was able to have jurisdiction outside the terminal. You know, like,
wow,
what type of overreach shit is that?
Yeah, that's a great analogy. So what do you think, 1060, what do you think that ICE's role in America is?
Like what it
Like,
is,
what it should be. What it should, idealistically, like, what do you think it should be?
Idealistically, what it should be is a lot like what the TSA is, you know. They stick to the border, they help people get through who need help, they keep people who shouldn't be getting into the country out, and they should be offering guidance to those who have never flown a plane. Like, using the TSA analogy, right? If you are confused at an airport terminal, TSA is always there to help. Fucking the immigration is not the same. It is you either know it or you're fucked. That is the only two ways.
That's a great analogy.
Especially,
I like that viewpoint. I like that.
yeah, it's complete overreach on ICE's part to be doing what they're doing. What it should be law enforcement on one end, it should be ICE at the border. Why is there such a divide and merger of who is where, you know?
How do you feel, what was the question? How effective is protesting?
I think it's very effective, except with one issue in regard to it, which is the fact that the media only tends to cover ones that are, you know, very well announced rather than impromptu protests. And like the issue with impromptu protests is the fact that the police will usually escalate the situation and begin sort of like doing anti-riot shit when it's not necessary. People are not rioting and all that stuff. And whenever they escalate, then the media starts reporting on it, and like they're like, look, they're trying to destroy our country and all that shit. Like like it happens every time there's a protest. Every time.
How do you think that protest, like, so then is protesting effective even in light of that?
Protesting is effective.
Oh no.
In my OPDC.
Yeah. Goodbye, 1060.
Bye. So in my mind, protest always back.
What
happened?
About that, my game crashed right as you were finishing.
Oh no.
Okay. But so to me, protesting is effective because even though like nationally it's viewed, like it's recorded and viewed in a negative light, in local sense, people see what happens with protests, and the videos that come out of protests that end up getting heavily censored because, you know, they don't want the cops being painted in a bad light, but the videos that come out of protests showing police overreach and police brutality, like those getting spread around show to others what's going on, what's happening. And that kind of leads into what I was talking about in one of your first points, was the bias, the media bias. Like polls and everything are so biased, and a lot of people that don't actually go out and try to learn things just follow what the media says. And whenever they do that, they develop their own biased rhetoric. And so they believe that protests aren't a thing, or like protests don't work. Like there's no such thing as a protest, it's just riots and all that, you know. So it does work, but because of media bias, there is an issue with them.
Okay. Okay, and 1060, how do you feel about protests?
I think that there's a lot of stuff that school doesn't teach us about protests, right? And the one that I always like going back to, because I love like the history of the 1900s to 2000s, is obviously the civil rights movement. You know, you have great prolific figures like, you know, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. leading the people and all the peaceful protests and shit. And it did show at the time that the news was showing it as oh shit, you know, these cops are beating up on all these people who are just sitting there, you know, like it's crazy. But as dystopian as it sounds, I don't think that that's going to work anymore. Because what a lot of people don't understand is
protesting?
That back during the civil rights movement, the Black Panther Party was still active, and a lot of what they did for like the civil rights movement has been completely and totally shuttered through history. Because of course, you know, the government ain't gonna tell us exactly, hey, this is what actually was effective. They're gonna give us the fluffy, yeah, just be a good person, you know. And it's the issue of now with how the media is, the one thing that King's protests had going for them is gone. There is no more of this, look at these poor protesters being shot by rubber bullets and run over by horses. Now it is all just, look at these horrible rioters burning cop cars and shit. You know, there's no,
burning Waymos.
I'm not advocating for anyone to do anything violent, obviously. But what I'm saying is that if shit starts going the way that it is, someone's gonna snap somewhere in the annals of history, and shit's gonna get really fucking bad with it. That's why I also don't think currently, with how protests are, they are effective community-wise, but wide-scale nationally, I don't think that they're gonna be like that big of a push until someone decides enough is enough fully. You know?
So on like a large nationwide scale, you don't think protests work?
Again, it's like a 12-20 set. It helped with the community. There was a bond of sense of everyone's in this together. We're safe together, safety in numbers. That's great. But again, I don't think nationally that is gonna change any, especially in a world that is only responsive to violence right now. As sucky as it is to say, I would love to be in the Federation from Star Trek, don't get me wrong, but we really are starting to hit that City 17 fucking aneurysm shit of the only reaction to this violence is going to be violence.
Okay, well, those were both very different answers. Thank you. Do you have anything else to say about that?
I don't disagree with his points, actually. Like, not a whole lot, because another thing, you mentioned, like, the sane washing that happened in history and everything.
Yeah.
So, sane washing, like, a lot of the civil rights protests weren't full-on protests. A lot of them turned into riots because of police escalation. And, like, other points of, like, protesting that ended up working, that ended up getting quite violent, was, like, South Africa, the apartheid system. Nelson Mandela was a fucking freedom fighter. And, like, that's whitewashed from history because it's like, oh, look, he just talked. He talked, and it got the entire government to change their way of life and everything. It's like, no, he legitimately would go to surrounding countries. He was basically a special operations master. Like, he was a subject matter expert on special operations and guerrilla warfare. He would train people to create juntas and things like that, which is wild, and that's something that is never taught unless you specifically seek out that information. And so I don't think it's ever going to look good publicly, but things do have to get messy for things to change. It has to get messy for things to change, and people don't like that because they've sane-washed members like Martin Luther King and Nelson Mandela, and they've also and Gandhi for God's sake, and
God, don't even get me started on Gandhi. Dude, he was a fucking monster at points, and people fucking are like, he's the most peaceful person. No, dude, you ask that guy on anything, he was a pacifist to a fanatical degree. Like, go and starve yourselves to death in the streets. Go run into their bullets, and eventually the bodies will pile up high enough to block us from them, essentially.
Nuclear Gandhi.
He was fucking psycho.
Okay, so...
Yeah, like, there's... Oh, continue.
Well, okay, so you're both talking about protests still, kind of vaguely. Gandhi was doing non-violent protests, and you're talking about Nelson Mandela doing kind of violent protests. Do you think, either of you, that violence at a protest from either side is ever justified?
I think defensive violence is justified.
1060.
As a historian, as a self-proclaimed armchair historian, I think that violence cannot be justified nor advocated against in the terms of history. It happens. It is I want to say a necessity, but it is a constant. You know, I'm not advocating for it. I'm not denouncing it. But it is something that is going to happen because as much as we hate to admit it, it is somewhat in human nature to start, you know, it's literally is fight or flight. You know, you're either going to run from a problem when it gets bad, or you're going to fight to tooth and nail to keep the life that you have. Because, like, what people don't understand about the whole fight or flight thing, it goes beyond just survival of oneself. It's survival of one's way of life. Like, people have said, you know, people were saying when Trump got elected, oh, I'm gonna go to fucking Canada. Oh, I'm gonna go to England. Shit like that. That's the flight. That's the, I want to keep the life that I have, so I'm gonna leave to a place that I know I can keep it. Soon enough, once the flight is taken out of the equation, the flight's all that people are gonna be able to do.
It sounds like you kind of both agree that violence is
I feel like we
justified.
do. I feel like I'm agreeing with him pretty well on most of this, because, and something that you did miss in that point you just made, is the freeze. Think about how many people are ignoring the problem right now. Think about that. So it literally has hit all 3 points of people that are fleeing the country because they're being, you know, targeted, or like their whole way of life is changing and everything like that. They want to save that, so they leave. I like 4 of my friends have gone to fucking Ireland already, so they're like, there's that. And now all that you have left are the people that are too scared to do anything about it, and the people that are terrified to the point that they are willing to fight to the death for it. So that's all you have left, and so fighting is kind of an inevitability.
Yeah, I can actually agree with that, because I am one of those people who is a freezer, you know. Like, I can say all of this, I can say all this shit about history and such, but again, I'm not a brave person. I am more than willing to admit that. I have been wanting to shut myself out from things like national news, things like protests, things like this, because every time I look at it, I just feel to myself, man, things are not getting better, they're just getting worse. And I got a mom who I need to take care of, I got friends who I want to make sure that they're okay with, you know, it's like, it is like a really unfortunate situation to where soon enough the government is going to strip so many people of so many freedoms, they're going to have nothing left to fucking lose. You know, you take Aneurism for example, right? This game that we all fucking are obviously playing right now. You have scumbags who have completely lost everything, who are now willing to destroy and burn a city, even if it means killing themselves.
Yeah, and losing everything.
Out of spite, you know? Out of spite for what was lost and taken by the Cortex.
Well, it sounds like you both agree that violence is justified in like a large number of scenarios. Where
I don't say it's justified, I say it's an inevitability. And I think he agrees with that.
I would say that.
Okay.
I hate violence, but again, it's like, it's not something that you can really stop eventually.
it sounds like you don't condone it, but you do feel that in certain circumstances it's justified.
I think it could be justifiable, but for me it's mostly in the defensive nature of things. But that can also be misconstrued because of the amount of police violence that we're seeing at these protests. So what if somebody firebombs a department? What if somebody firebombs a fucking police station? Because the police have been committing so many atrocities to the people. Is that self-defense? Is that violence? Is that terrorism? What is that?
Well, is violence like that justified?
That's where that line gets blurry, because I feel like to a point it could be justifiable, because there's been a lot of people killed at these protests by the police. There's More Perfect Union, there's an interview they did with a man who attended the LA No Kings protest who got shot by a tear gas canister and his fucking finger exploded. He is missing a finger now because of police escalation. And so, at what point is what the police are doing justifiable? I don't think what the police are doing at all is justifiable in any way, shape, or form. But then that brings into that point of defensive violence. When is it justifiable for people to fight back to the police, people to maim the police, people to kill the police? Is that justifiable? Is that revenge? What is that? Where do you label that? Because I don't think violence in itself is justifiable. I think it is a matter of nature.
Very like nuanced thing, because it like, you know, the best way I've always used the, you know, question of is violence justifiable is, well, was World War II justifiable and all of its nitty gritty? Like, you know, we can all agree Nazis were shitheads. They deserve to get their teeth kicked in, but does that justify the violence that Russians, Americans, and all the Allies caused on German civilians? Does that justify it, or was that simply just violence begating violence? That's why I don't think that there is an easy answer of is violence ever justifiable. It is
It is as chaotic as entropy in my mind. You know, it is a universal constant that will never be shaken, no matter how utopian it gets. You know,
So
and there's always going to be two sides of it, always going to be multiple opinions. It really is like base by base. Does that person, through what they've lived in their life, does that justify what they did? You know?
So violence is not something that's justifiable, but it is something that's going to happen.
I feel like I do feel like you're very hung up on the justifiability of it.
I'm asking the question of whether or not it is.
Well, that's the thing, is you can't, it's not a yes or no. It's like, it's not unjustifiable, but it's also not justifiable.
That's
a stasis to where it's like, it just happens.
That's absolutely an answer.
This is why, like, the generalization of violence, it has to be like a case-by-case thing, you know? Like, is a woman shooting...
I think he DC'd.
Oh no.
I think I know his point, though, is like, I'm going to assume what he was about to say was, is a woman shooting her abuser to death justifiable, even though her abuser has been assaulting her and everything?
Let's see if that was correct.
Let me see if I finished your point correctly. It said, is it justifiable for a woman to shoot her abuser just because they have been abusing her relentlessly?
Yeah, exactly. But then is it justifiable for that same man in the situation to shoot her for not listening? It's like it is disgusting no matter how you put it, but one is like in your mind, you're like, yeah, she had to do it to survive. He didn't. You can't. But then you merge those two situations together. Was it justifiable?
Okay, so it sounds like you're saying case by case, it can be justifiable. And violence is like an inevitability.
Yeah, that's why it's impossible to ever truly know the true answer of, is violence as a whole justifiable?
Okay, I dig it. Thank you for the very complicated answers. I have two fun ones. If you could snap your fingers and make anything in American politics happen right now, what would it be?
Damn. Does it have to be just one thing? Or is it just like the entire system can be changed by the snap of my fingers?
You have a unlimited power, and whatever you wish happens when you snap your fingers.
I would say basically everything I've been saying, like, more focus on the public, more socialized, systems, so socialized, healthcare, more focus on, supporting the poor, more focus on supporting drug addicts, more focus on all that shit, like that.
I think
also taxing the rich.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, I think that with how my ideas in politics go, I think that the biggest issue of all of them is the rich having as much money as they do. I feel like at this point, another reason it goes back to what I was saying why I'm a freezer. But now, ever since Reaganomics of saying, you know, they don't need to pay taxes, now all of a sudden there is a massive divide that is making the middle class basically non-existent.
And so with your magic power...
I would bump it back. I would bump rich taxation back up to where FDR had it, where it was like 71%.
Yeah, the marginal tax rate being like 90%. So that's the wish? We're bumping the marginal tax rate, we're taxing the rich?
I would say, yeah.
So the last question, and then I will thank you guys so much for your time. It has been such a fun interview for both of you. With both of you for me. Thank you very much. The last question that I have is, what is your biggest regret in life?
Joining the military.
Want to go into that a little?
So I joined the military originally for like spiritual reasons and also to get away from my family, and now I'm just kind of stuck. Oh, by the way, this entire conversation is not the opinion of the United States. It's the United States Air Force.
Nobody knows who this guy is. 1220, works for the Cortex.
So yeah, the reason that I dislike it is because of how fickle everything is based on politics, and also it's the military is a cult. What's up?
You guys are still talking.
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, half a fucking hour.
I picked the doctor body so I wouldn't have to eat.
things you talk about.
This is
But
the
yeah,
real
military
shit.
is a cult. Like, I remember there was one point in time to where, like, I gained a bit of weight because I'd been depressed, and when we had a uniform inspection, my sergeant, like, was like, dude, come on, you've got, like, buy a new uniform and start trying to lose weight. Feel some pride in the uniform you're wearing. And my brain instantly, as soon as he said that, I went like, why the fuck would I feel pride for this? This is just a job. Like,
Because you're the pride of the U.S. military, son. Have some pride.
motherfucker, I sit at a computer all day.
You're fighting the good fight.
But yeah, no, like, it's literally, I don't know if that's actually my biggest regret, but it's pretty far up there because, like, I don't know, dude. The fact that I have to be in the military to afford basic medical care is kind of fucking wild. But,
Yeah, it's part of the machine. Grinding you into
So yeah,
paste.
what about you? What's your biggest regret? 1060?
Yeah, 1060.
This one's gonna need a little bit of context. So again, you know, mental illness runs in the family, right? My mom has very bad issues. A few years ago, she completely fucking just snapped off the rails. I didn't know that mental illness even ran in the family until that day, and so in the span of, like, I want to say 3 days, the life that I once knew was gone, right? And it fucked me up so bad that I ended up leaving and going on a plane and going out to her friends for a time. And, you know, when I came back, you know, she was all apologetic, she had gotten help and crap, but it really is like I don't know, I wish I stayed, honestly. I feel like a coward for it. I know I'm a coward. I'm not brave, not anything like that, not strong. But I kind of do wish that sometime there I did stay, honestly.
You stayed with your family?
I wish I stayed. I wish I did. I
Okay.
didn't. And I went to my brother's house, my second family, you know, my guys. And, you know, just kind of laid low for a time when she was suffering, and I was like, damn, you know. In hindsight, knowing that I wasn't in danger, you know, hindsight 2020.
Oh my god,
really
these dudes,
does
they've literally been out here for like 45 minutes talking about politics. Holy
I can't
shit.
believe this
Like,
uppity
every
bitch
time
just
I
like
look
cannot
at
stand
them,
us.
they're
Hi.
talking.
I really appreciate your answer, man. Thank you for being so open. I'm sorry to hear that.
No, I'm turning
Yeah,
it
it's
in.
fine.
I really appreciate the both of you taking part in this interview. I appreciate your time. Do you have anyone you want to shout out? Any channels or anything?
Nope.
Channels.
Thank you for
Play
your time.
Fossil, join the Colonial Legion, that's as best as I can say.
Join the Colonial Legion?
I said North Star Radio, spread communism.
Yeah, North Star Radio plug. Hell
For
yeah.
real, okay, I live here.
You know, we're
Every
wrapping
time
up
I,
right
like,
now.
Can you take your conversation somewhere else for like 20 minutes and then come back?
Oh, the
Hey,
conversation
Queen,
just
we're
ended.
done.
We're done.
We're done.
Oh,
That was an awesome interview. Those guys were so fucking chill. I got like an hour of content. Let's see how long that was. 2 hours. That's crazy, bro. Good shit.